Digital accessibility is still very much a disjointed process for most organizations. They will create content or they will build an asset, and then they will work on accessibility after the fact. Also, many organizations are reliant upon third party providers for accessibility. And this is inefficient not only in terms of the cost associated, but the amount of time involved in going back and forth with the service provider. And inevitably, this leads to organizations opting for accessibility so that they can strengthen their workforce and add an additional skill set for their employees, staff, and contractors. And on this initial slide, I have a woman who is looking at a laptop and taking notes because this will be the path forward for organizations as they embrace digital accessibility. Now, before we continue, what is digital accessibility? Well, it is accessibility for all digital assets. So here we are making sure that our digital assets are accessible to people with disabilities. Now, you may have heard about website accessibility and web accessibility. Website accessibility is self-explanatory. Web accessibility is going to include website accessibility, but also accessibility for any other web assets. And when you think about web assets, just think about anything that can be accessed by a web browser. So that's going to include web apps and social media. And then when it comes to digital accessibility, this goes beyond just web accessibility. And so we can include native mobile apps, software, documents, and the list goes on. So when we talk about digital accessibility, inevitably the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG, comes up. So as the name indicates, WCAG is for the web, but importantly, the principles still apply to all digital content. So some success criteria or requirements aren't directly applicable to software or documents, but the broad principles will still apply. And one other note here on success criteria. The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines are technical standards. And so the requirements under these standards are referred to as success criteria. So that's all that's in play when we talk about different success criteria. Now, it's best if your team learns the complete Web Content Accessibility Guidelines for conformance level AA. But in the immediate term, you may want to focus in on the success criteria that are applicable to the respective roles within your company. So what's very nice about the success criteria is they can be divided nicely into three roles. So those roles being developer, designer, and content editor. And with the developer, we're going to look to success criteria that involve the functionality, let's say, of our website, and any advanced coding aspects. For the designer, we're concerned with success criteria that are applicable to the look and feel of our website. So this will involve colors and then also the CSS or cascading style sheets. So again, with designers, it's the presentation that we're concerned with. And then for content editors, we're concerned with everything that involves content. So this is going to be text, images, video, audio, and documents. And so for these different roles, if we learn the success criteria that are directly applicable, it's going to really help in advancing our accessibility even more quickly, because here the training is hyper-focused on exactly what aspects of accessibility these respective roles need to be the most concerned with. So how does your team know what success criteria are assigned to their role? Well, one helpful reference is having a spreadsheet checklist where the roles are associated with each success criterion, and then your team can sort through that checklist by their role. Another helpful document is having an accessibility workflow for each role. So here we have the success criteria integrated into the accessibility considerations that each respective role would want to have in mind. And then another helpful document could be where the success criteria are grouped together into related chunks. So some success criteria are different, but very much related. And so this way, your team isn't looking at each individual success criterion, but rather grouping the accessibility considerations together so that they're aware of, if they're working on one thing, that they can possibly combine another accessibility consideration with that first success criterion, if that's the case. So here an example could be you read through all three success criteria related to color at once. So as you're working on accessibility issues related to color, you're not just working on one success criterion, but rather the three that are related. So all of these materials are contained in the WCAG course, which is my course on the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and it contains everything that your team needs to learn the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And it's designed for your team to not only learn efficiently, but also effectively. So the lessons are extremely lean. There's no fluff inside of the course. It gets right to the point, and it's also highly organized and structured in the exact way that I recommend your team learn the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And there are modules for each recent version of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So you'll come across WCAG 2.0, 2.1, and 2.2, and your team will be able to learn about all of the success criteria in conformance level AA. The course also includes multiple resources, including the master Excel spreadsheet that is divided by WCAG versions and includes a worksheet for all of the success criteria for all of the versions. You'll also find accessibility workflows for the respective roles involved that we've talked about today. And there is also a document called WCAG and Chunks where all of the WCAG success criteria are grouped together by like success criteria. And just one more note here, the course is a one-time purchase. There is no subscription, so you will have lifetime access to the course. So you can always refer back to the course and use the reference materials and access any additional updates that are made to the course. I will include a link to the WCAG course in the description.